if you want to see it later on. So a bit about this unit itself. So this unit is about human growth and development. So what is optimal development? What is normal development? What are the key stages of development? And how does it impact um, any human? Okay, so if there's normal growth, how is it very, very important for normal growth? Um, what are the factors that lead to normal growth, and what are the factors that lead to abnormal growth and development? You need to know this because if you're working in the health sector, you need to be aware of these conditions where you then know where to nip in the bud. Um, so this unit, it aims to develop your understanding of different areas where growth and development impacts human beings. The different stages, we will go through them. A bit about what life stages we have. We have infancy, we have childhood, we have adolescence, we have early, middle, and late adulthood. So the main ones are infancy, childhood, and adolescence. And then you have adulthood, where you have it distributed into early, middle, and late adulthood. You have a lot of factors that impact your growth and development. These are all the indicative content. So we'll talk about in this particular learning outcome. There's physical, intellectual, emotional, social development. There are changes from birth to old age affecting health and well-being, and developmental norms and milestones, and we'll talk about different stages. At any point in time, you need to ask any questions, please feel free. This video, it will be shared with you via Moodle, where it shows that you're fragile or you're frail when you're born, and then at the end also you turn frail. So during these stages, the human growth it witnesses different growth patterns. We'll think about it. So the lifespan, you can think about it that it has different periods of development. We've talked about the different stages that we will be discussing further in detail. Um, some people have also divided into further stages, such as prenatal. Prenatal is even before the child is born, and then the infancy, when the child is born till 1 year of age, early childhood, middle childhood, and then adolescence or late childhood, early adulthood, middle adulthood, and late adulthood. Any of these is normal. Now, when the child is not even born, that is called the conception. When the child is conceived, that is called conception. But there is a time period even before conception, that is the preconception. There is pregnancy. It's usually 9 months of 9 months, and the baby and mother go through 3 trimesters. So three months in these 9 months. They have been divided up according to stages. Then the birth of the child takes place, and then there's a typo here. Infancy is actually from 0 to 1 year of age, where the child starts growing older, they get stronger, different body parts they grow and develop. This is a very good I'll just quickly take a snapshot of this and I'll share it with you. So this is PIES 0 to 12 months of age, and it shows you um, different developmental stages. So it's 0 to 12 months, and it shows you all those stages that a person goes through during this infancy period. So it's the infancy period, which is below 1 year of age. So as soon as you cross that 1 year of age, you then become a child. So if you can see the screen, there's 2 months, and then you'll learn what are the social and emotional developmental milestones, what happens, language development, cognitive and physical development. So at different stages, there are different developmental milestones. And why are these milestones important? They are important because we need to know what child is growing according to what pattern. Okay. So the intellectual, so the child learns sounds, their brain starts growing faster. They they're born with the ability to sense different objects. They're also born with a range of reflexes. So this is how they develop them. So sucking, when the parent sees that shows them that they want to be fed. And then these all all these movements are coordinated through the body, through the mind. Okay, and then they have emotional needs as well. They're very important. First they were not included, but now they have been included, very important, as very important. Feeding and cuddling, so they're emotionally resilient, and they develop their self-esteem. Social, so babies are very social. They're very um, they look at people's faces, they look at their gestures, and from the age of 6 months, they're likely to be around other people and they enjoy it. Then comes the time period from 1 year to 9 years, which is childhood. Okay, so there's different body changes. So the body grows faster. Their gross motor skills, which are like walking backwards, climbing the stairs. These are gross, the bigger muscles, they work in this. They can skip. Initially, they couldn't, now they can. And then they have fine motor skills also. So they start building towers. These are the fine muscles, mostly the fingers that are used here. And they can write letters and alphabets. They throw and catch things, and they're rolling also. So these both are developing, and their head size reaches 90% of the adult head size. So there's constant development here as well. I don't know yeah, intellectual is at this stage. Again, even in the childhood, you have intellectual changes as well. The child starts their counting. They start repeating the last words of everything. So if you say a lot of no, your child is going to learn no as the word. So when I had my babies, I was asked to not say no, say yes, so that they say yes to you as well. So anyways, every child is different. And then they start counting, they start their numbers, they start their alphabets. That's all the intellectual learning. And then they're very social here also. They don't care about what race, color, mm, region you're from. They're more than happy to interact with you. Then comes the adolescent stage, the later childhood, where there's tremendous changes happening in the females, which where the puberty is around 11 to 13 years of age. The breast starts to grow bigger, increase in fat layers under the skin, pubic hair starts to appear, menstrual periods start happening. Male goes through puberty, but at a later stage, 13 to 15. Their voice changes, their pubic hair starts and facial hair starts growing, increased muscle strength, and penis and testicles start to grow. Intellectually, they are now less in the way they were. Now they're changing. They ask more complex questions. They argue. They want answers to questions. They're very eager to know about many things. And their emotional changes are also there. Menstrual cycles are there. Their mood changes because of that. Their hormonal changes that impact their growth. And then socially, they have their different friends. Now they develop their self growth, and they will not have everyone as their friend. So they will have very particular needs when it comes to their friends. Now, coming towards adulthood, then you have early, middle, and late adulthood. Things start to deteriorate here. So the things that you were very active in and very fast in now become decreasing in nature. This is for all the factors that we have discussed so far. Intellectually also, they have they're at their highest potential during this stage, because you have you have your jobs at this stage. You perform at the best of your abilities at this stage. Emotionally, you want more positive relationships, good relationships, and intimate relationships, because you've gone through those hormonal changes, and this is a requirement, a human body requirement. So most of you get married at that time. If not, you have partners at that time. And there's socially also, they start confining themselves to what is needed the most. So financially, they're mostly in their job place becomes their other main house, actually, where they're spending most of their time. They have kids at that time, most people. And then there's later adulthood, where everything changes even further on, 65 and above. So they're further going down. Their organs don't work as well. Their bladder, they lose their control of their bladder. Hair loss is more apparent. The brain does not work as fast as it used to work. They get go through the stages, if they're not dementia, but there's drastic decrease in their mental capabilities. Emotionally, elderly people sometimes they feel the need to forget the age that they currently are, uh, and they behave, dress, and even talk or do things that they were used to when they were younger. So they want to be emotionally very taken care of at this age. Okay, and they have their own likes and dislikes. Socially, they want peace. All these five stages show how the way an individual develops throughout this different stages. um, so there are different these key stages have nature and nurture working upon them. So nature is the pre-wiring. So if I'm by nature a very stressed person, for instance, or if I am genetically, I am a very anxious person, I will have that in my nature and I might transfer that to my offsprings as well. However, nurture changes things. So external factors after conception, and now it is said that it happens even during conception. So if the child, you want to ease the fetus, if they've not even born, you give them proper exposures. You don't give them loud music because that's not what that child needs. You give them soothing music. You give them soothing words to hear. You talk to them. Yeah, like it is even said that if you nurture a tree, the tree grows better fruit. Okay, so that's how a human being also, since they're not even born, they need to be nurtured. So that nature can impact the nature as well. So if you're stressed, maybe you nurture and you give the child an environment where that stress is not really apparent. These are some approaches to psychology. So you have a biological approach where there's more nature or genetics there. Psychoanalysis, cognitive psychology. We're not going to talk too much in detail about this. There's humanism and there's behaviorism. Behaviorism is more about nurturing through the environment, whereas nature is solely biological. So nurture has an impact on nature. Okay. And nature has an impact also. If you're stressed, you will not be able to nurture properly as well. So, and then there's the explaining the developmental norms and milestones. We've talked about this in detail. Why are developmental milestones important? I've talked about this also. A delay can be caught. There are different charts where you see the road to growth is very important from the World Health Organization. So all these types of milestones are checked in order to see that where are the shortcomings and where can we intervene as parents, teachers, and healthcare professionals. Physical milestones are very important. We talked about physical, gross and fine motor skills, cognitive milestones, as well as social and emotional milestones, communication and language milestones. Um, Here we want to analyze how each development area has an impact on another. We've talked about this. So if you're physically, if you're on a lower side, you'll be mentally as well. Or mentally, if you're on a lower side, you'll be physically on a lower side as well. So these are some of the references. I'm not going through too much of detail. We'll go through the assignment discussion, which is very important so that you have an understanding of what things you need to focus on. I'm conscious of time as well. Now, the second learning outcome, if you have any questions, please interrupt. There's no rushing when you need your clarifications there. The second learning outcome for human growth and development is understanding the potential impact or effects of life factors and events on growth and development. So let's say an earthquake happens or a tsunami happens. That can literally disrupt all your life, the way you were growing, the way you were developing. Or let's say about war. More currently, there's war. So it changes all the way you were growing and developing. Okay. So we'll talk about all these factors such as illness, disability, loss of focus. So these are some of the key terminologies that we will be going through. And so the different factors and it's very important to identify these factors which are responsible for impacting your life, your growth and developing. So environmental factors, the environment, it's full of positive as well as negative things around you. So uh, this is evident. So there's noise, there's air, there's water pollution, there's radiation, etc. Excuse me. There's economic factors, your income, your wage, uh, your wants versus your needs. Poor living conditions, such as living in damp, in overcrowded situations, can have an impact on your growth and development as well. It can actually kill. The physical factors that are responsible for, let's say, genetic inheritance, such as your eye and your hair color, they're genetically inherited. And there's some illnesses as well, such as cystic fibrosis and Down syndrome, that are genetically inherited as well. The amount of physical activity or the benefits of exercise versus little risks of little or no exercise, opportunity of play, these are all physical factors that impact your growth and development. Abuse is very important, where it's a very important factor that needs a lot of um, discussion. We can't do it here. There's emotional, such as you have financial in that, an example of emotional abuse. You have physical, sexual, psychological. Earlier, this neglect was not included. Now there is neglect also, especially in children, and vulnerable population. Okay, and older people as well. So neglect is another type of abuse. Negative impacts of noise pollution causes stress, anxiety, high blood pressure, disrupted sleep patterns, hearing loss. You have social and emotional factors, the lifestyle that you live. If you're living in a joint family system, how does it impact you, your emotional needs, versus a nuclear family system where you're living separate? Adverse child experiences can have an impact on your growth and development. Abuse, educational experiences, you've got into employment. If that's not a very suitable place where you're working, that can impact you. If you're unemployed, that can impact you as well in your development and your growth. Cultural and racial diversity. Adverse child experiences are traumatic experiences that occur before the age of 18 and can affect the individual into adulthood. So that remains there for life with them, unfortunately. Relationships, they're different relationships that have a positive and negative impacts on you. They can hurt your feelings, or they're trustworthy. These all have an impact. Now, this figure very beautifully explains how the different factors are interlinked with each other. So these are potential effects of life factors and events on growth and development of individuals. So if you have good services, interventions, and projects going on, social contexts, the social network is very strong. You have early years children and young people working for you. You have communities that are built up towards improvement, urban environment, and economic employment and poverty. They're reduced. So this has a positive impact, and they're all interlinked, okay, with each other. There are 5 life factors on the development of an individual. Basically, what we've talked about is 5. So there's genetic, uh, there's biological. Just a minute, sorry. There's someone who can't join. Just give me a minute. Sorry. Yes. So, sorry. So there's genetic, where there's cystic fibrosis, and there's biological effects of diet. There's environmental exposure to of pollution, socio-economic, where there's education and employment status. There's lifestyle, nutrition. Okay, so all these also these are the 5 life factors that have an impact on the development of an individual. So genetics, we'll quickly go through this. So genetically, as I said, you have certain conditions like Down syndrome, cystic fibrosis. You have asthma, for instance, very common. It causes swollen airways of the lungs, that cause them to be swollen, and this can, if you have it in childhood, and there is a likelihood that your ancestors, your parents might have had it, and it impacts your physical development as well. Biological, so if there's biological influence when they're during pregnancy, as I said, things impact even when the child is not born. So if there's a biologically, if the mother is a heavy drinker, or a heavy smoker, there's poor growth, facial abnormalities, learning and behavioral problems. There are miscarriages also that can happen. Hello, whoever's joined. Good morning. I'm sorry you couldn't join earlier. This meeting, by the way, is recorded. So if you want to have a look at the recordings, they're there. They will be there available for you. You've not missed much. It's the second learning outcome that we're quickly covering. Then there's even smoking during pregnancy can lead to miscarriages, problems with the placenta, which carries blood to um, the fetus. They turn more ill. Now the child is not even born, but this is what they face. And there's one thing called secondhand smoke. So if the mother, she's not a smoker, and the father is a smoker, or the partner is a smoker, or anyone else in the family is a smoker, and the mother is being exposed, the fetus is indirectly being exposed as well. This is what new research has found out. It's such an important thing. Intellectual development would have been affected by biological influences during childhood by affecting his progress, if the mother is a heavy smoker. Then there's environmental pollution. You have increased risk of crime. You have stress from overcrowding and noise and air, lack of privacy, lack of poor facilities, dampness, etc. Socioeconomic factors, not having good houses, not having a good job, not having good wages. Um, uh, and this has a negative impact on the intellectual and the emotional development of a child. Lifestyle, again, how do you live? What diet do you maintain? This all has an impact also. Sorry, I have a cold. And if someone is sexually abused, for instance, when building a tree house with an adult, now that experience of building a tree house becomes very much adverse. If even if you think of building a tree house, it's such a wonderful experience. I would want to build it with my child, but if they're sexually abused when they were doing this, they may enjoy making the tree house, and the abuse affecting them because the abuser manipulated at a vulnerable stage, then this does let this stops them from enjoying the process. This is about anything in life. Okay, so smoking, drinking, all of that comes into your lifestyle factors. Major life events. So if everything is perfect, what if there is a war? What if there is an earthquake? What if there is a flood? That puts you at risk altogether. um, there's an accident, there is a loved one who you lose. So all of these things have an impact on the human growth and development. Nature and nurture, we have talked about this already. Please do read this article of Michael Jackson. I'll share the link in your um on your Okay, so just have a look at this. This will be shared with you on Moodle as well. The next is the references. So we are done with learning outcome 2. We'll quickly go through learning outcome 3 and 4, and then we will proceed towards our assignment discussion. I hope there are no questions. If there are, please again, feel free to ask at any time. I hope you are following what I'm saying. Yeah. The third learning outcome is about understanding the physical and psychological changes of aging. We know that when you're a child, there are different factors. The process is different, and when you're an adult or an older person, the changes are even more varied. We're trying to understand physical and psychological changes of aging. So we'll go through these factors where we will understand the physical and psychological changes of aging, services available to support individuals experiencing changes associated with aging, the effects of on self-esteem and self-confidence of the physical changes associated with aging, and the influence of theories of aging on health and social care provision. Excuse me. There are psychological changes of aging which are tremendous. suicide rate for men are over 85 is higher than that of any other age. And the reason is because they lose their jobs, they lose their loved ones in the process of aging, they lose all the positivity that they had, and they lose their children as well, because they're separated from them. They lose all their life, the positivities of their life. Okay, so that is why it is so important to have a family that is closely linked to you. And the physical impacts, so there's hearing loss, there's cataracts, refractive errors, your back, your neck pain, your osteoarthritis, all of them develop at that stage. Then there's physical and psychological changes linked to aging. Early adulthood, it takes place between the ages 20 to 35 years. In early adulthood, a person may continue to add a bit of weight. Hormonal changes impact. Middle adulthood, you have noticed anti-aging creams being used. 35 to 65 is the ages for middle adulthood. And fine lines will be developing. There's dietary supplements that you may use to lose weight. So at some time around the age of 65, we enter the world of late adulthood. Senior discounts are there. The final stages take place after this age. The wrinkles become stronger. You have more not birthmarks, they're brown age spots on the skin. You start losing your hair, your vitality. You start developing different conditions such as heart problems. What impacts you is your nurture at this time. Okay, so if you're nurtured properly, your diet, your exercise, your medical care is proper, you would be in good hands. Psychological and emotional development as well. So psychologically, they become just like children. They need more care. They need to be dealt with more patience. They have more emotional needs, because obviously they're losing their family structure. They want more dependence now instead of independence, because they had their independence when they were younger. An example of difference between in the emotional and psychological state. So there's Bob, who is 27 years old and focused on the development of his career. He's highly successful at his job, has few close friends. He has a little time for romantic relationships, whereas Shirley is 33 years old, has two young children. She's married to her college, sweetheart. Unfortunately, they were unable to make the marriage work. She still has a friendly relationship with her ex-husband, who is supportive of his children. So she's separate. Joey Joe is 30 years old and married to his high school sweetheart. They have one 11-year-old son. He began working just after high school to support his family. Joe now spends his evenings attending community college. So of these three, who do you think is at the best of emotional and psychological states? I'll breathe for now, just for a minute, while you answer this question. Who do you think? I'm not sure if I said it, but I think Joe is in the best of conditions here. So, and that is why, because he has a good family structure here. We enter late, but you may argue with this, and you may say that Shirley is equally good. Things happen, but at least the marriage, if it did not work, it's still keeping them happy. Um, Finally, there's late adulthood. You lose your freedom. There's grown-up children, fewer responsibilities, though. Later adulthood, a person is at greater risk of becoming depressed and lonely. Um, there are changes in your heart, your vessels, your body's vessels. The vessels are those that take blood to and from your heart. They become less elastic, so they become more, um, let's say they have less elasticity, and that is why they develop high blood pressure. Um, the bones and joints, they become weak, they become fragile, they become less elastic as well. Digestive system becomes less functioning. The bladder and the urinary tract also lose their power to constrict, and that is why they go through urinary incontinence, where they just the urine flows out, they can't control their urine or n- uh, their feces. Memory and thinking skills decrease. There's a decrease in all these factors. There's aging also changes your eye lens, causing them to be clouded, which is cataract. Difficult hearing. Your teeth become looser. You lose your teeth. Your skin becomes more uh, prone to the elasticity here also becomes less, and it becomes more fragile. Your height turns to reduce as well. There's This is the discussion where physical changes associated with aging have on self-esteem and cause self-confidence. Obviously, you were at your best when you are younger, and now as you grow older, you lose your self-esteem. Okay, hearing and loss of vision. Obviously, you are then dependent on hearing aids, on glasses, or on surgical procedures where you want to regain your vision, and that becomes difficult as well. Aging is advancing in years, sorry, and aging are not the same. Advancing in years is what happens in regards to the calendar. Okay, but aging happens, so there's some person who is just 20 years old and has fragile bones as equivalent to a 90-year-old or an 80-year-old. So that is what aging is. There are different 5 stages of the aging process. There's independence. While aging, the individual is capable of handling daily chores of his life or her life. Interdependence is somewhat a share, where they need assistance. Dependency is completely being dependent. Crisis management is obviously they can't do without medical care, and end of life is the last stage of aging. There are 3 basic types of aging: biological, psychological, and social. What lifestyle factors? We all know about it: eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, avoiding use of tobacco and other drugs, maintaining a healthy weight, establishing healthy sleeping habits, moderate alcohol consumption, staying mentally sharp, and intentional socialization. These are some of the references. We'll quickly stop sharing and go through the last learning outcome, and then we'll quickly go through our assignment discussion. Any questions here? Please let me know. I will not spend too much time on this 24 slides, and I'll quickly go through the learning outcome 4, which talks about understanding the impacts of transition and significant life events. So these life events, they're about transition and significant life events here. There's different life events. We've talked mostly about this. Life transitions are when you start a new job, you get a new house, you marry to someone. This is a life transition. The different life transitions and significant life events across a person's stage. So as I said, you get married, you have a divorce, you have a child, you lose someone who's close to you, you lose a job, you get a job. These are all significant life events. So transitions are very important life events. The 4 types of transitions: emotional, physical, intellectual. Hmm. Okay, thank you, Bola. Thank you so much for letting me know. I really appreciate it. um, Crawling to walking is a transition. You start using your muscles. You have parental support there, or support from a caregiver. Moving from one class to another can be a big transition for a child, or adoption, obviously, is a big transition for anyone. Um, for the person who's being adopted and the person who's adopting as well. Bereavement is a big transition. Any misfortune, any divorce that happens, they're all very big transitions. There is a physical impact of transition. Um, so I won't go much into detail. We've talked about this. There's a emotional, there's social impact. Now we'll talk about the role of health and social care practitioners in supporting individuals during transitions. What do you do when you have significant life events happening around a person? You support that individual and their learning disability. So you develop a person-centered approach where all those things that happen are centered around that person themselves. You need to follow policies and procedures. That is very important. You need to know about them in order to follow them. So that if there's a person with learning difficulties, what do you do, how do you deal with them, and so on and so forth. So one hat does not fit all. Okay, so you'll have to decide what person needs the most, and you change your um, preferences according to that person. Role of health and social care workers. So they provide care for family members in certain in a so whenever there's need, they care for individuals facing trouble of conflict in various relationships, people facing challenges of old age, individuals with mental disabilities or distress. So they all these have a role for health and social care workers. um, so these are all the other factors that social workers have the right to intervene in in the family or private life. In case of individuals, they need to be protected for themselves, so they're vulnerable, they don't have a say. Promoting human development and security, encouraging for social inclusion and a healthy participation during their lifetime. People with learning disabilities, they need to be working with them, for them. Children with emotional shortcomings, children with special needs, um, adults need of establishing their independence and dignity again, and old men and women. Learning disabilities, we know about them, we need to work around them. And there's a child who has learning disabilities, and there may be a person, an adult also, who has learning disabilities. So you need to know what policies are there uh, to work with them. You need to have a care plan in place. So a care plan tells you that this person has this specific learning disability or difficulty, and then this is how you work according to that person. If that person is an early morning waker, you work according to their plan. Or if they're a late waker, you work according to them. How do they prefer their meals? How do they prefer their medicines? So obviously, without keeping them safe from danger, that needs to be communicated, and you're working in the best of interest. Person-centered practice, I've already talked about it. What you're doing is you're empowering those people. Okay, so you're empowering them so that they can make decisions of their own. And advocacy is to empower people to ensure that their views and opinions are heard in any decision making. They tend to support and put forward people with learning disabilities. That is because healthcare services making sure that every individual has a right, even if the person has disabilities. They can't speak for themselves, they still have rights. For instance, a person is a deaf and blind. They ask for an advocate to guide them and be led by the person only, doing what they request, also to be friendly while still maintaining boundaries. The advocate must listen to the person. Species. Partnership, we work with partners. We work with different organizations for them. We work with the disability team. We work with their family members as well, because you have to have partners with them. We have to work with different other NGOs as well. Now coming to the last bits is analyzing the impact of person-centered approaches on the support provided by practitioners to individuals experiencing transition. How do you provide support? Preparing individuals for transition. Even before the transition happens, just prepare them, supporting the needs of individuals during transition and events, assessment of the needs, action planning, goal setting, planning, choices that they need to make, and independence. Read this, please do read this person-centered approach, very important. Now we are done. Since we are done with this, I will quickly go through the assignment discussion. We have enough time for doing that. I hope all of this was clear for you all. Um, yeah. Now comes the assignment discussion. And the assignment is all based on whatever we have gone through so far. So, and some points that we just quickly skimmed through, they were just a repetition. So now we are going through the assessment discussion or the assignment discussion. So it is important that what is the aim of this assignment? You need to understand that. Okay, what is the main objective of it? We looking for you to understand your development, your understanding of in relation to supporting people in every stage of life, and they need to know you need to know how growth and development relate to health and well-being. We are seeing your critical thinking, your planning, organizing, and time management, your gathering information, note taking, and summarizing, analysis, your written skills, your academic skills, including your references and your application to IT skills. Okay, so quickly we'll go through this. So the document structure and formatting, it needs to be uh, uh, having a page number. And at the beginning, you need to have a unit number and the name of the unit. Start with a bit of introduction, 30 to 50 words introduction about what is the unit about. Write out the learning outcome. If you are mentioning it, we've gone through 4 learning outcomes. Otherwise, it is not required. Your font size, sorry, should be 12. Your line spacing should be 1.5. Page needs to be inserted, whether it's above or below, it's up to you. The table of contents initially at the first page, after the first page, on the second page, you have the table of contents. Your conclusion is 20 to 30 words, and at the end, you have your bibliography or your references. Now, there's some useful tips that you need to remember. Read the task carefully, read it twice or thrice if you need to, focus on the details. They're command verbs that tell you what is to be done. Okay, while writing. So if the command verb says to explain, to define, to describe, you use it you use it for like 70 to 100 words are enough for that. When they ask for you for assessing, examining, clarifying, or analyzing, it is to be written in 100 or 125 words. When they ask you to compare, contrast, critically, or evaluate, 150 to 200 words. Your referencing should be Harvard referencing style. Your word limit should be recommended. The recommended is 3,000 words. So you have 3 tasks here. So the first task is presentation with speaker notes. So speaker notes are, I'll just show you what speaker notes are. So when you are writing excessively, you can, sorry, I didn't intend this, tend to write this, but this is what speaker notes are. Okay, so if you're writing more than what you required, it's just like an appendix. So 15 to 17 slides. Your second task is out of a Word document report, 1,500 words, and the third task is 1,500 words as well. So the first task is according to around learning outcome 1. So as a newly recruited health and social care worker, you have been asked to create a portfolio. Okay. And this is around human growth and development across the life stages. You will also need to create material for the presentation, which you will present to your colleague in a staff training session. Produce a presentation that details human growth and development across the life stages. So you should be able to describe physical, excuse me, intellectual, emotional, and social development for each of the life stages of an individual. Identify key changes from birth to old age affecting human growth and human and well-being. Health and well-being. Explain developmental norms and milestones. Identify life factors and events which affect or impact growth and development, and explain the potential effects of life factors and events on the growth and development of individuals. Your presentation slides, I had shared with you the pies factor in your in the chat box. Okay, so make use of that. You can discuss those factors. You can use a graph showing these stages, talk about the impact and events which influence growth and development of individuals. Now, in order to gain a merit, you should also be able to analyze how each development area has an impact on the other. Here, you need to pick up with the 4 stages of growth and development and talk about the development and impact of the development for the next phase. If you want a distinction, you would also be able to evaluate how nature and nurture affect an individual's physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development. Here you need to talk about pies again. This was the pies stages that we had mentioned. Task 2 is a Word document which revolves around learning outcome 3. People worldwide are living longer. Okay, that's the scenario. Living longer gives us opportunities to pursue new activities. For instance, further education, a new career, or pursuing a new sport or hobby. Older people also contribute in many ways to their families and communities. Aging is, of course, accompanied by changes, both physical and psychological. You have been employed to work with a team of healthcare managers, and the managers now need to know how the service they provide meets the needs of the local community. You are required to prepare a training resource for practitioners. In the resource, you should be able to explain physical and psychological changes linked to aging and explain lifestyle choices associated with aging. You should be able to explain physical and psychological changes to link to aging. You can talk about the psychological changes, about the organ system, the cardiac output decreases, blood pressure increases, and there's the bones that are being impacted, the lungs are being affected, lifestyle choices. So, what are your lifestyle choices that impact your aging? Smoking, you can talk about stress, you can talk about diet, you can talk about housing, etc. To gain a merit here, you would need to talk about retirement, how retirement downgrades are your socio-economic status, health challenges that limit your abilities and your freedom. So here you're discussing the impact that physical changes associated with aging have on self-esteem and self-confidence in order to gain a merit. Talk about different relationships of physical appearance and self-esteem, how they're closely linked, and common conditions in older ages, including hearing loss, cataracts, etc. To gain a distinction, you should also be able to evaluate the influence that lifestyle choices have on aging. Here, you need to talk about socioeconomic status, the level of education, family, kin, and social networks, etc. You can talk about being free of disability or disease. How does this impact your aging, having high cognitive and physical abilities, and interacting with others in meaningful ways. Now, your last task is about a scenario where moving between different stages of life, such as school. These are different transitions that we are talk about. Transitions are easier. You are required to, or difficult for people. You're required to
I'm going
identify
inside.
a
I have
person.
lecture.
Sorry, I have 5 participants now. I'll just finish this and then deal with it. You are required to identify a person. This could be from your own experience or from media. Prepare a report where you identify transitions and significant life events across the life stages. You describe the impact that transitions and significant life events may have on this transition and explain the role of the health and social care practitioner in supporting the individual during transition and significant life events. Now, again, we've talked about this. So what significant life events are? You can talk about this, describe the impact that transition and significant life events have on this individual. What are significant life events? You can talk about this. Explain the role of health and social care practitioners in supporting the individual through the transition, through the stages of transition. How does a social care worker or a social care practitioner support this individual? Give examples of the impact of the life events that seem negative, and how do they impact, do they lead to depression, grief, and stress. uh, Sorry. If you want a distinction here, you would also want to analyze the impact of person-centered approaches on the support provided by practitioners to the individuals experiencing transition and significant life events. Talk about person-centered approaches, how putting the people at the center of your care helps. So refer to the ebooks that you have for everything. Please reference it. Your submission would be to learnerwork at ukversity.co.uk. Please ignore this date. So we have gone through the assignment discussion on the 17th. So this gives you 2 weeks exactly to finish your assignment and submit it. So your submission deadline will be the 31st of January 2026. I'll write it down over here.
For
The
the what?
31st.
Excuse me, please.
Yes.
Because I just joined in now. I thought the lesson will start by 11 o'clock, so I don't know the one you're discussing at the moment. The one
I
I was
am,
sent to.
yeah, I'm discussing human growth and development, ATHE level
Yeah,
3.
because I think the class supposed to start by 11 o'clock, and I just joined in now. Joining now, I realized that you have already ended everything.
Yeah, this is why I sent a link in the chat that I was not sure when you have been asked to join, because for me, what class I had, it was showing this time, so I had to join it. Apologies for that if there's been any misunderstanding. You always have a link to um, the resources. The recordings will be shared with you. I just have one question from you all, since you all are here. I'll stop sharing here and I'll stop the recording.